So I'm home after 25 days on the road and have laid out everything I took on the trip with the intent of kind of figuring out what I used and didn't use, and with the goal of helping me plan for my next outing. So, some of the basics: uh, jacket, pants used all day, every day; boots used every day; pair of gloves, helmet used every day. I did wear a GoPro chest harness, which I like because it gives you a view of the motorcycle as well as what you're going through. The thing I didn't like about it is that I don't have a way to talk into, get the talking on the camera while I'm riding. And I know that there are things to do for that, but anyway, so some good footage, but not, it's just riding footage. Carried a backpack, and this is what was in my backpack. A camera and tripod, which on this trip I did not use at all. Toilet paper is a must. This is a bladder. This is an additional one. I carried two bladders, thinking that if I did some hot desert riding, Moab area, something like that, that I would just fill up both bladders and have them for that. I decided not to ride in Moab because it was just too hot. So that secondary bladder ended up being superfluous. A pair of goggles that I used a number of times. And then this little black bag is the tow strap, which I'm always going to have just in case I need to get towed. My tool bag with all the tools, headlamp, and then this bag here has tire patch stuff as well as some CO2 cartridges. Next is the left pannier, and that had my clothes in it. You'll notice 5 pairs of underwear and 5 pairs of socks. I could have gotten away with just 2 pairs of underwear. I did use most of the socks, but don't know that I needed 5 pairs. The 3 shirts that you see here, blue there and black, those are all wool, and it's merino wool, and it works well in hot weather or as insulator. This middle one here has thumb loops on it, so for cold, wet weather, it's nice, and it also has a hood, which I could tuck up inside. And yeah, so that's nice for the cold weather or wet weather. The thermarest, I ended up not using it all on this trip because it wasn't cold enough to warrant that. Next are some biking shorts, bibs, which I used for most of my longer riding days. Part of the reason I didn't need underwear is because I was wearing those. Next is a pair of swim shorts and short pants just for wearing around. Definitely use those. A little towel. Pajama pants, and there's a t-shirt underneath there. I found those to be very useful for sleeping, especially when it was hot. Kind of kept my legs from touching each other, which was much more pleasant. The white t-shirt there is what I placed over this little stuff sack, which is what all of my clothes fit inside. With the t-shirt over it, that became my pillow. Extra pair of gloves, which I never used on this trip. And then a jumper battery, which in addition to being able to jump the motorcycle, I used on occasion to charge my cell phone or to charge the other battery that I carried along for those purposes. The Helinox cot I used, and I love it, is a lifesaver. I would not be able to camp otherwise. The thermarest on that, when it's cold, keeps the heat from seeping out the bottom, but it just was not cold enough to need that. The silky katana boy, I will always carry just so I don't get stuck on one side of a tree I can't get around. That also holds the pole for my tent. Spare tube. This is a super heavy duty tube. I don't know that I need such a burly tube. It's really heavy, and yeah, I'll look at a replacement for that. The 1.75 gallon Rotopax gas can, I used it twice, so happy to who have had it. In the tail bag, in the left pocket is the pump, which I used on a couple of occasions. Once when I had a flat due to a faulty valve stem, and once when we were riding through the Great Sand Dunes National Park. That allowed us to pump the tires back up after letting air out to ride through the sand. Can of chain lube, which I used every couple of 100 miles. Sam splint for first aid, zip ties, various bungees and tie downs. Big bear can full of food. I did not use that once in this trip. It's a lot of weight to be carrying, and it just turns out I didn't eat a ton, and the one meal, generally I was eating one meal a day, and I would snack the rest of the time, and so I could do with much fewer, maybe 2 or 3 meals instead of that's like 8 days worth of food right there, and I ended up not using it at all. A little salmiakki on the top, just to always have a little salmiakki with me. Takes my friends from Finland with me. Cup for beverages. I didn't use that at all either, but usually I would use that for hot beverages. I've got some hot chocolate and things like that in there. On the right side, work gloves. I use those a lot. A couple of rags. Use those as well. Full Allen set. And then 2 sets of tire levers. I did have a flat tire. It turns out I didn't need to use them. I did use them, but I didn't need to because it was the valve core that caused the tire to go flat, not a puncture or anything like that. This is more tire patch equipment, and then electrical tape. You never know. Those kind of things can always come in handy. Here we come up to the right saddle bag. In the right saddle bag, I had my Mega Mid, or now they call it a Mega Light, I think. So floorless tent, love it. Flexlight chair, or whatever it's called. It's nice to be able to sit on something and not be on the ground and be able to have your feet below you. First aid kit, pair of shoes, and a pair of non-riding socks, which is kind of nice if you're going to be in town or walking around for any period of time. Replacement candles and candle lanterns. I use those on occasion. Those are citronella candles, so campsite with lots of mosquitoes, those could be helpful. Like I said, I didn't do any cooking, so the stove, which has a small fuel canister in it, and then the 2 extra cans of fuel, ended up not using at all on this trip. So I can definitely get away with less. If I bring less food, then that will be much less need for fuel. The sleeping bag I actually carried in this sack because it's down, and I don't like to leave it compressed for too terribly long. And the nice thing is when it's in a small stuff sack, then you have to fit that small stuff sack in a confined area. The nice thing about in this bag is that I just put it in last, and it fills in all the little spaces inside the pannier, and it kind of expands to fill that space and keeps everything from rattling around inside that pannier. Here we have the tank bag and everything that was in the tank bag. Let me stand over here where the light's not so reflective. A book for some reading, toothbrush and toothpaste, cotton swabs for cleaning ears and things like that, little deodorant, some wires for charging the phone and for the GoPro. Here's my balaclava that I would wear underneath the helmet on cold days, and also just as a neck gaiter when it was really sunny and hot out. This one is made of wool, and is nice to keep my neck from getting sunburned on occasion. Headphones. I found that while it might be nice to listen to music on occasion or books on tape, it hurts my ears, so I didn't ended up using those much. Contact lenses. I use those a fair bit for riding off-road. So for days I knew I was going to be off-road, I would wear contacts. Lens cleaning kits for my glasses. I brought 2 extra pairs of prescription glasses just in case, because I'm blind without them, so I can't have too many. A pair of sunglasses, which I ended up not using. Some anti-fog. My hat I used almost every day, every time I got off the motorcycle. Here we have connector to my phone for SD cards, as well as an adapter for mini SD from the camera. Next is my Leatherman tool, spare set of keys, battery for charging my phone, and the GoPro, mouth guard for stopping my snoring, some extra dental floss, some chapstick, and you'll notice 4 lighters there. I tend to forget lighters, so some friends of mine have given me extra lighters. So you'll notice a bunch of change there too, and I carry the change. They're good for car washes, so that when I've been riding off-road, and often it's mostly to clean out the radiator. So being able to stop at a car wash, and you got to plunk down $1.50 or whatever to get that to work. It's nice to have a bunch of quarters. I'll just carry those in case I stop at a campground that has a shower, and then I can use that for showering. So that is a little breakdown of the equipment that I took on my trip. 25 days, 8,408 miles on this motorcycle, and yeah, and I'm excited about the next trip. I guess I got nothing else to say at the moment. Yeah, so there you go.